everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the brand new How to Roll Dice podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Bryant.
And we're going to be filming and uploading 2 of these a week. This is going to be our Tabletop Tuesday episode, which is mostly going to discuss Privateer Press, War Machine, and Hordes, as well as some of their alternative games like Monpoc or Monster Apocalypse, and some of their early releases, battle reports, things like that. On Thursday, we're also going to be releasing a second episode every week, which is going to be Themeless Thursday. That's going to be a more generic gaming episode discussing things like board games, other tabletops that we play, and card games. So, getting right into things.
Yeah.
We wanted to discuss the Week 3 wrap-up for Talion CID, which by the posting of this video will have occurred a few days prior. We're actually recording this on Saturday, and so it wrapped up yesterday. But we wanted to go over some of the sort of finalized changes. Granted, they could still make a few changes to that, but stuff that stuff that they felt really needed to be taken care of before they got to the last few days of the CID.
Yeah, I remember Hungerford was saying there's a few things going to be still on the table that might switch over and off and on. So
exactly, and we were going to bring those up. So just going down their list real quickly because we don't want to do a full recap. Obviously, if you guys are watching this, you've probably already watched the CID yourself, so there's no reason just hearing us regurgitate everything that they've already said.
Yeah, no, it'd be pointless at that point.
Right. So quickly going down the list, the Blockader or Blockadier, depending on which party you're in. The new Talion Colossal, which is sort of going to be the alternative to the Galleon.
Looks fantastic.
It does. I love the shooty, punchy fists. Yeah, it's like
little. Get over here.
Yeah, it's almost a little twist of like a Japanese mech influence.
Yeah,
like the chain fists. That
you know what it reminds me of is the troll from Hellboy 2.
Oh yeah, he does actually have the chain gauntlet that draws back in. Yeah. So a pretty cool new feature there. I don't know if there's anything else in the War Machine Hordes universe that actually has a chain. There are plenty of chain weapons like harpoons and whatnot that have drag, but an actual like rocket fist that comes off and comes back in.
Loki's got the toss, the meat hook.
He's got his meat hook. Yeah, exactly. So pretty cool add-on there. So he got a bit of a POW bump, and that went mostly to his range 10 sprays. They're up to POW 14 now. His cost went down to 35 points, and again, they mentioned that was just a balancing factor with the Galleon because they were trying to make sure that things were sort of, you're not specifically drawn to one over the other based off of how well they fit into a specific list. And they feel that he's pretty good where he is right now, so they said there probably won't be too many further changes with him.
Yeah, no, and I think Spray 10, POW 14 is just perfect for what he's going to be doing.
Right, it's not, obviously it's going to be hell for units, but it's not going to be over the top, and you can obviously throw some chunky stuff in front of him, and it's still going to slog him down. Some people were complaining that it's too easy to pin him down. And they were just like, well, yeah, but you can do that to any Colossal.
Exactly.
So he's no different than anybody else.
Unless I bring my Man of War.
And then, that's where, throw piggybacks, Man of War, anything with a solid shield wall or like a one-turn mini feat where they can become like armor 20 or something like that is going to get in his way for at least a round.
Any regular infantry is just gone at that point.
Yeah, he's just going to spray through you. All right, so moving on to the Swabber. He is the new Heavy Jack. They've mentioned that he's going to be sort of a shooty support. He gained back Girded on top of the fact that he has Shield Guard. They didn't do a swap out. They had removed Girded previously and put Shield Guard onto him, and they decided to add it back because there was enough of a callback from the community basically saying, hey, that really gave him the playability and the functionality that we feel he should have. So they put it back on and they left Shield Guard on as well, so now he's got both.
Yeah, he's 100% worth it now at that point.
Scallywag, which is, I believe, Shay's new character jack, bonds to Shay. They changed his bond effect. It's switched over to extended control range, so obviously he's going to have a bit more reach, can play a little more forward while Shay's controlling him.
The guy has leap.
He does.
How scary is that?
So they've made a few changes to him, actually. When he first came out, he had a much more, almost like a weird ground and pound style of play. He had Feign Death. He could knock himself down. I don't think it was Stumbling Drunk, but he had something similar to that. And they removed that entire chunk.
Can Jax get drunk?
It's a good question for Doug Seacat. Yeah. We should bring it up. Probably. The Avatar has kind of sentience, right?
Right.
So you would assume that if you have sentience, you can imbibe alcohol. I don't know. Maybe they just dump it into their furnace and they get like red line or something. Oh god. The old school World War II vodka into the engine submarine trick.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So Scallywag, he's meant mainly to be a harassment style jack. He has overtake. He has leap. I think the idea is basically he's going to jump into the front lines and just start getting in the way, causing havoc inside of your unit, and Shay's going to have that extended control range so that he can hang back and continue to support him from a distance, which is really ideal.
It's an awesome looking model.
It is.
The skull in the face
the skull face is very cool. And I'm curious to know, obviously we haven't seen a fully painted one yet, but I'm curious as to whether or not that's an actual skull that's been mounted inside of a Jack chassis, or if it's just a metal, a general Jack face that's been sculpted to look like a skull. Like he had some custom.
Whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, but it's fluffy wise. Like, did he find some giant skull? I mean, based off the size of that
his brother? And that's his brother's skull.
It's probably, so there's still like 200 giants living in the west of Imran. Maybe it's like a giant skull. It's just like jammed in there. But either way, we'll see when the model comes out fully painted. Jordan will take care of that one.
Yeah.
Up next, we have the Swashbuckler, new light warjack. This one is, again, sort of a harassment light. It's sort of just meant to get in the way and mess things around. It's much more defensive. It's got duelist, defensive strike, dodge, assault. So if you remember, this is the one that has the clamp that has sort of the revolver tucked into the center of it.
Yeah, with the...
So he's like grabbing your face and shooting you. Yeah, so they got rid of dual attack, but he has duelist now. Yeah. So it's kind of a balanced swap in, swap out type deal. Mechanically, it just works a little better.
He probably was a little OP.
His weapon now, I believe this is a change on this recent week of CID, is a range 4 POW 12, and he has open fist, so he can grab and do one-handed tosses and things like that.
Yeah.
Just going to be another Jack that's going to get into your unit and be a really just a big hassle to get rid of. You swing at him, you miss, he hops around, he takes a swing back at you. It's,
it's pirates being pirates.
Right, yeah, he's going to be obnoxious. He's going to get in there and be an obnoxious pirate like Jack. So.
And again, still an amazing looking model.
Yes, and I believe this is the one they mentioned was, I believe this is a 7-point Jack. We don't have the CID paperwork in front of us, but I believe this is a 7-point Jack, and it fills a nice gap in sort of that low-end light Jack range of point costs, where if you need to slot something in there and you're looking for something beyond just a solo or a small unit, he does that well.
How nice would it be if, like, the Buccaneer knocked something down with a net and he just came up and grabbed it with the clamp?
There's all kinds of utility that you can get out of it.
That's going to be nice.
So moving on from Jacks, we've got the Powder Monkey, which is both amazing and functional. Hilarious in its design.
Monkeys are coming out strong.
They are. I think we're up to 3 or 4 monkeys.
Yeah, the
Milady Man, the Malady Man monkey.
The Malady Man monkey. Now we have Powder Monkey.
Powder Monkey, and then we have the original monkey. Well, I believe the original monkey.
Mr. Walls.
That was Mrs. Walls' monkey, which was already part of the Talion charter. So Talion's up to 2 monkeys now. That's a pretty good monkey count.
He's sitting on a drum of banana rum.
Yeah, banana rum. Highly explosive banana rum. Well, that's what he's doing. Like you just said, he's dumping the rum into the furnaces. And powering things up. So obviously he has Empower. They did modify his catastrophic explosion, which is basically if you hit the giant keg of whatever it is that he's sitting on top of, it's going to detonate and he's going to, all hell is going to break loose.
I think they said people were actually just blowing up their own models.
Right.
It was taking away the idea of what they wanted.
It was getting a bit silly. I think they specifically mentioned there was some trickery going on inside of Grimkin where you would blow the monkey up on your own, and just not the direction they expected people to take it in. Or maybe it was, and they just wanted to see it happen before they tuned it back.
Fiery, exploded, drunk monkeys.
Not an uncommon response from Privateer Press style players to blow your own model up just to watch it burn. The biggest change, I think, this week came to the new Warcaster, which was Captain Rahera. I think the main issue here is that because she works for both Talion and Crix, and she specializes with both Privateer and Shard models, there's a lot of dual balancing that they have to do there. They kept trying to come up with a better feat for her, and they kept running into issues where it was either too similar to one Talion caster or too similar to another Crix caster.
Right.
They just don't want to step on people's toes there. So they have sort of finalized what they want her feat to be. It's a complete overhaul from my understanding. And so it's basically a giant broadside. What it says is all models in her battle group, so all of her Jacks, and then all friendly living models in her control area immediately make a ranged attack.
That's going to be nice.
So that's out of turn.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not going to work so well if your units are completely engaged or stuck up with other, opponent models. Because I don't believe it's going to let you make ranged attacks.
I don't think it gives you gunfighter.
Yeah, you're not going to ignore ranged attack rules.
No.
But it will stack really nicely if you have any units that have 1-round mini feats up, where they're doing an extra powerful shot that round.
Yeah.
Because it's still within the round. So they're going to get a secondary mini feat shot off, basically.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be great against light infantry, medium infantry.
Yeah, it's gonna if you're still sort of working on an alpha strike and the lines haven't quite collided yet, it's gonna really set up an amazing second round volley that's going to diminish your opponent's front lines. It could be a big deal. The one thing they did mention about this is they are still, leaving on the table the option that this might switch over from being ranged to melee.
Yeah.
If the ranged ends up being a little too aggressive, which obviously that's again going to completely revamp the way that this feat is used. We'll have to wait and see whether or not they find it to be overpowered with the people testing it out.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to have to be. I think it's going to end up getting changed to melee because you have Broadside Bart, who that's his thing.
You do, and I mean Broadside, he can only do it with his battle group.
Right.
So the fact that this applies to an entire
army,
not an entire army, but I mean, if you set this up correctly, you're going to get a hell of a lot of gunpowder out of it.
Which is why I can see them possibly changing it down to just straight melee.
Yes, exactly. And so again, the way that they're planning to have her used is basically to jump in, kill some models. She now has Blood Weaver instead of Blood Boon, which is basically every time she kills a model, she can sling out a spell.
Yeah.
So if you look at her spell list, she's very much in the realm of like Warcasters that don't quite have the power to do what they could. Like she doesn't have enough focus to run through all of her spells as often as she would want to.
Yeah.
So having given her Blood Weaver, she can now jump in, stab a guy, shoot off a spell, stab another guy, launch another spell. So she's going to turn into this sort of like haphazard spell slinger as she dives into your unit and starts taking people out. And then she has Sprint, Acrobatics. She's immediately going to, clean house, cast her spells, and just dive right out.
She's going to have to.
Get back to the light. Yeah, she's not a tanky caster at all.
I mean, anybody that's meant to hit is going to take her out.
Exactly. And you can see sort of a theme going on with that, with these new Talion models, similar to the Scallywag and the Swashbuckler.
Very in and out.
Very in and out. Very jump in, wreak havoc, and just get back.
Out, yeah.
And leave you sort of like, looking around like, okay, well, what now? And you're just there to sort of pick up bodies.
Which is great for the pirate theme. If you're going in, pirates never stay put in a line.
Right, they're not
like, okay, let's fight. They're quick in and out.
You're not talking about, loyal trained foot soldiers that are meant to hold a line or march in from trenches. It's sort of just this bar-style brawl that's going on. You walk in, you smash a bottle over somebody's head, and you dip back out.
Yeah.
Take your punches when you can and hide under the table the rest of the time. So yeah, that's it for the CID. They said that most of these changes seem pretty finite. There are a few things still left on the table that they might tweak, but for the most part, they're pretty happy with it.
I think I'm most excited for was Shay's Jack.
Shay's new Jack, the Scallywag.
The Scallywag, I think it just looks amazing, and the Blockade.
Yeah, I mean the Blockader or the Blockadeer, again, however you want to go with it, the Scallywag, the Swashbuckler, they have this great new style to them that is similar to the previous sort of marine style pirate jacks.
Yeah.
But they just seem a little more modern, like their hoods are a little more domed and just the design of them, it's really nice.
Their faceplates look a little bit more up. Almost looks like they're wearing bandanas to hide their face.
It's much more like they're designed for combat. It's a similar feel to when Rule started to get, or Seer Forge, or Forbes, however you refer to them, started to get jacks that were a little more designed for combat.
Not Hammer Strike.
Not Hammer Strike.
Not Hammer Strike.
The Hammer Strike theme is just, we'll talk about that another time. But, so yeah, you can tell that now Talion and Pirates are sort of coming out full swinging, like ready for combat.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just dock worker jacks anymore, that they're handing a spear and saying, hey, let's go to combat.
Privateer Press literally just went, we need more pirate players.
Exactly.
And just came out with all these great models.
Bring the drunken hordes back in.
Great, now I have to buy pirates now.
Exactly, yeah. Another faction for your faction ADD.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Faction ADD.
Moving on from the CID, quick drop on Mini Crate. The subscribable crate, subscribable, monthly limited miniature service that you can get from Privateer Press. They did roll up to their new model I think it's every 4 weeks or every 5 weeks.
It
has to be every 4 weeks.
I think it's every month,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So every month they roll over to a new model. This month it's an alt sculpt for Silas Wishnailer or Wishnalar, again, however you want to pronounce that. And the model's name is I have it here somewhere.
Yeah, you wrote it down somewhere.
Seeker of Silence.
Yes.
Or Seeker of Silas.
She's sitting on a bunch of books.
It's not exactly clear how they pronounce that one. She's sitting on a bunch of books, yeah. So you basically have a semi-seductive looking elf.
Yeah.
She's in a bit of a provocative pose.
Yeah.
Short skirt, if I recall. just sitting on a stack of books, giving the shush finger, I believe.
Yeah, because she's like the librarian.
Exactly. So that's a fun little alt if you're into purchasing those, or if you just like having, decent models to paint and put on a shelf somewhere, if you want some kind of a sculpt for a D&D campaign.
Yeah, that's one of the type of models that I actually I would buy into. I like the fact that it's all a bunch of different books.
Even though they're limited...
all samurai books.
Oh yeah, just all different kinds of occult lore. Even though they're limited style models, they're not lower in quality. It's the same high quality resin sculpt or a pewter resin combo that you're going to get from Privateer Press. We subscribed when Mini Crate first became a thing. I want to say we got the first 6 months of models plus the early sign up promo because we had also signed up for No Quarter Prime when that was a thing. It's now expired or extinct. Or at least switching to entirely digital.
I like papers.
Paper's nice. Magazines on there in general.
Holding it in my hand.
So anyways, Mini Crate, good stuff. It looks like a great model. My wife can't seem to decide what faction she wants to play, and in the mix right now is Retribution, so we'll probably end up ordering that just because she wants to have it for the babies.
Faction ADD.
Yeah, straight up Faction ADD. Beyond Mini Crate, there was a new Riot Quest release, or not release, but sort of tease. They've been slowly trickling out these Riot Quest sculpts.
They look so cool.
So this one is the Wolf with No Name.
Yes.
It very much looks like a spin on like an old school Clint Eastwood
it
Western.
is the man with no name.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got like the poncho, he's got on like the Stetson style hat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm buying it immediately.
I believe he's holding, it's not a revolver, it's like a shotgun almost, right?
I believe
it almost looks like a long rifle.
Yeah.
So
and he has a huge like Bowie knife hooked up. I'm 100% buying it.
It's a good looking model. All of the Riot Quest models so far have been awesome. If you guys have been following along, there's been an alt butcher that's going to exist in the universe.
Wielding a battle axe, Lola.
Yeah, so it's not just a battle axe; it's an Orgoth Lola. So it's the same material that makes up the fell blades that the Doom Reavers use. That basically drives you insane. It gets shackled to your hand.
He's got a big old gut.
Oh yeah, he's got a big old pot belly. He doesn't fit in, or he's not even using Warcaster armor anymore because in this alternate.
He's a solo
storyline.
Yeah.
Well, they said he never was a Warcaster.
Yeah.
Like he just picked up the Orgoth Lola and went crazy and just became like your typical over-the-top berserker.
He's just a big old strong guy that picked up.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, I like it. And then Gorman the Wolf's new model.
The new Gorman the Wolf.
Which is Gorman. Gorman is my all-time favorite mercenary solo.
So I feel like they took sort of the tongue-in-cheek joke that Gorman the Wolf looks a lot of people have painted him like Darkwing Duck. The way he sort of like got his cape up tucked over his face, and I feel like they took that even further by the fact that the new Gorman sculpt for Riot Quest is in like a sneaky crouching like it almost looks like something from The Mask.
And he has a backpack full of chemicals. How great
is
that?
It's very much.
I want to paint like each one a different alchemical.
Oh, absolutely! You got a green, nice neon colors. If you can figure
neon,
out how to
yellow,
do like a bubble effect.
Hot pink.
Yeah.
Everything must be hot pink.
A really cool thing about Riot Quest in general, for those of you that don't know, is that all of these models will not only be functional in Riot Quest, but will have rules that come out for them so that they're playable in War Machine and Hordes.
Yeah.
And so, from what we understand, it's not that they're going to be alt sculpts like the Mini Crate sculpts, where this new one, for example, replaces Silas. They're actually going to be new models that can be taken within factions or possibly just within mercenary.
Yeah, so for the Butcher, he's gonna come out as Butcher 4. So you can only pick, if you're gonna pick him as a solo, you can't take him also as a Warcaster.
And that's the thing, he is a solo. He's not a Warcaster. So even though you still have him listed as Butcher 4, they did specify he's still going to be listed Butcher 4 because they don't want it to get confusing where we're referring to models as Butcher 1 War Machine versus Butcher 1 Riot Quest.
Right, because the only time they're going to go down a number is like what they did for Sorsha 0.
Exactly.
Before she became Warcaster.
Where they're sort of backing it up in the storyline, which makes sense. She predates Sorsha 1.
Yes.
So Butcher 4 will be a solo that will be takeable or bringable in Khador lists.
Yes.
And then same with Gorman, same presumably with this Wolf with No Name, which is interesting.
Yeah, they haven't explained what he's going to be yet.
If you look at his face, he sort of has like these jowly, furry patches. He almost looks like he would fit into Circle as like an Alpha Wolf style model, maybe a UA or just a solo that works well with the wolves.
I'd like to see him as a minion.
He could
honestly think him and Long Chop side by side.
The Hunters.
Hunters.
Yeah,
you got You got Clint Eastwood and you got Crocodile Dundee walking up on you.
Yeah, it'd be
That's
pretty
horrifying.
Solid. Eventually end up with a whole just army made out of hunters. Well, I mean, you already have Alton Ashley, you have Saxon Auric, so you could make something out of it.
I would love to see him more into minions.
Yeah, he's Riot Quest. Whether or not we play Riot Quest, these models are great. I love that there's a lot of character coming out, and it's no longer just a faceless unit named X. It's specific individual models that have character, that have backstories of their own, and it's making the game feel a lot more alive than it has in the last few years.
Right, because it's alternate universes, so now you're like wondering like, what's going on?
Not only alternate universe, but just like it's adding new sort of rich tones to the Privateer Press setting. It's very good. Lastly, CID news, sort of. Like we mentioned, this is the last week of Talion Charter. Next week isn't necessarily going to be the beginning of a new CID. It's actually going to be the intro to the beginning of the next CID, because it's going to be Infernals.
I'm so excited.
It's, Infernals. There's been a lot of hype online. Somebody went back, I'm not sure who it was, I wish I could credit them. Somebody went back to the old original Monsternomicon books for the original Iron Kingdoms RPG, not the new one, because there hasn't been much for Infernals released in the new one. I think there's maybe one monster. But the earlier one, there was actually a lot of fluff on them that spoke about how their caste system worked, the different levels of like what an Infernal was level-wise inside of their universe, how their horrors, or are they called horrors? Yeah.
I believe they're called horrors.
Their beasts are called horrors, or their monsters are called horrors. How their horrors are summoned, and the different sort of degree of lessers and greaters within their horrors that they can...
Since that announcement video.
The announcement trailer's been amazing. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on Privateer Press. It's only about a minute and a half long, I think.
We will link it below.
Yeah, it's a great video. You should check it out. It has really dark overtones. It references plot points that have been written since the beginning of the game, dating all the way back to how Thamar, one of the three gods of man, attained arcane capabilities for mankind. Up to a certain point in history, mankind had no arcane capabilities, and then all of a sudden they were just had the ability to start slinging spells, and sorcerers were being born, and that's part of how they overthrew the Orgoth invasion. That dates all the way back to Thamar making a pact with Infernals, allegedly, to get mankind arcane powers. So now that Infernals are showing back up and claiming that they have a debt that's owed, it seems very much like that they're referring to that debt that Thamar made.
Is it actually mentions that the old witch brought the Grimkin out to
battle
against that.
The whole concept of Grimkin surfacing was the witch's attempt to sort of cram as many souls into Urkane as she could before the Infernals showed up and just started ripping souls out of bodies and manipulating them to turn them into their own monsters.
Yeah, I like the way that Hungerford, I think it was Hungerford that I mentioned that how they come up on the field is they just swirl up in a pool of smoke and then they just appear. And
they're just sort of almost just like manifesting on the field out of nowhere.
And if that's how the models look, I'd love to see somebody paint it like pure blood working its way up.
Well, either that or use that sort of like cotton ball smoke technique. Yeah.
Which would be nice.
Some of the stuff they said is going to come up next week, and again, this is because the Infernals are so much different so much more different when compared to any other faction, either in War Machine or Hordes. They don't use Focus or Fury; they use Essence.
Yeah, which I'd like to see what Essence is.
I'm assuming it's some kind of the soul goo that's been referenced by Doug Seacat and some of the other guys on the weekly hangouts. Based off their fluff, I mean, that has to be...
sacrificing, maybe?
Either sacrificing or... I mean, one thing that popped into my head is it could just be an energy that's accrued as opponent models are killed on the field. Almost could like... be. That's literally souls. So if this is Essence and not souls, then they wouldn't use the same mechanic by which souls are obtained.
Or it could be every time the person who's going to summon them takes damage.
It could an actual self-harm, like cutting themselves.
Yeah. Like what is that? It's like when you whack yourself in the back. Or
flagellation, self-flagellation, or something like that. Yeah,
you gotta
you guys will correct us on that.
Start cutting yourself and then. Kalima.
It's gonna be interesting. So Essence over Focus and Fury. The fact that they're beasts, I guess they're beasts. They've referred to them as horrors. They are a Hordes faction, so they are the beast model type, but they're referred to as horrors, similarly to how Retribution Jacks are referred to as Myrmidons, I assume. it's more of a fluffy thing. But obviously, they're going to have some special rules. They mentioned they're not damaged in the same way that Jacks and Beasts are.
They don't take the same type of damage. They don't use the same type of energy.
They use damage circles instead of spirals or a grid. So
their cards are going to be probably like that.
I mean, I'm picturing something almost like when you used to see the structure of like an atom with the rings for electrons going out. Almost like the damage gets marked like center out. That would be interesting. I'm not sure. Obviously, we'll see.
That should have been on the Crucible cards.
It would have been something very sciencey.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the whole mechanic of how they're played, the fact that they're summoned instead of start on the field, and I do believe that summoned is actually going to be they start off field, like they're not on the field for most of the game or for the period where they're not being used.
And from what they were saying, that it almost doesn't count towards your allotted army point. So does that mean that then...
Do they not have Jack points or Beast points?
So does that mean am I just going to load up an army full of summoners and have like 1 billion models off the table ready to go?
Yeah, that's another good point. Maybe Warcasters or Warlocks aren't the only ones that summon.
Right.
Maybe like some solos can summon lesser horrors and the Warcaster or Warlock can summon the greater horrors.
Right. So if they don't count towards the points, that's going to be interesting to see how that's going to work.
They did bring up, while discussing summoning, they did bring up Will of Orberus and Ambush as abilities, both of which sort of let models appear on the table that weren't there at the beginning of the game. So that's going to be interesting. They did say it's going to be a massive CID. So next week, which is going to be the sort of intro date, that's going to be the 27th. That's where they're going to give us a little taste of what's to come so that we can get a handle on how crazy the Infernals really are when compared to everything else.
They also said that they're actually going to release all the PDFs the day after they talk about them.
Right.
Which they've never done before because they realized
they
that
said
people...
we're going to need time to let this sink in.
You literally need 7 days to figure out how to play these guys. So that's going to be interesting.
And then the actual beginning of the CID will be March 6th, which is, I assume, going to be the next episode of the CID cycle where they're going to start getting into actual stats and getting down to the nitty-gritty of the new faction.
From the concept art, they look amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing some great painting.
Yeah, there's a lot of... At first, I felt like this is just another Cthulhian H.P. Lovecraft style faction, which a lot of games always tend to drift towards because it's got such a great aesthetic to it. But you already get a lot of that from Legion.
Yeah.
Some of the newer Legion beasts and the Gargantuans have that feel to them.
Blackbringer's still not there.
Yeah, so this feels almost more, now that I've seen some of the beasts, it almost feels more like J.J. Abrams style monsters.
Yeah.
Like you've got the creatures from Cloverfield and his style of almost like Batwing,
they almost
walking
look like
on their wings.
Yeah, walking on like the first knuckle is horrifying.
The knuckle walking. That's definitely a J.J. Abrams thing.
Independence Day type thing going on.
Yeah, so it's cool that they're going and they've found yet another direction to move in with their creature design. It looks good.
I think they look fantastic.
So yeah, last thing to reference here is the new, or that we want to bring up, is the new hashtag that you can use. This is courtesy of Jordan with Privateer Press, who is their new studio painter, who's
doing a great job.
Doing an awesome job. Great stuff, Jordan.
Super fun. I love the hot pink hair.
I think between the two of us, we have had an effect on every model you've painted so far.
The Warhorse now has a murderous magenta because of me.
Murderous magenta name.
Everybody gagged that video.
Lovely dolphin kitten smoothies. If you haven't had one, try one. They're great.
Protein shakes are
great. Furry protein. It's up there with the best of it.
And then yours was...
So the bee on the hat of the Malady Man?
Yeah, the Milady Man.
The Milady Man, I believe it's on... Oh, no, sorry. The bee on the hat of... the new frog solo.
Yeah, the toad. Well, I think he's a Warlock attachment.
Yes, I think he is an attachment, but it's like Lord Wart something or
Wart Tongue or Blight Tongue or something.
Yeah. So the frog has a little bee on the side of his hat. So it's a fly, but it's a bee now, thanks to Jordan and our recommendation. And then also the Malady Man's organ having bright green flame shooting out of the weapon.
And the one thing I love is that these are all models from his personal army that he personally purchased and he's going to run. And he's allowing all of his fans.
He's taking
ideas from his fans, and if he thinks it's a great idea, he's going to run with it. And he's super awesome to watch. He's very enjoyable.
The videos are a lot more interactive now between Twitch chat and Facebook chat, depending on which you're watching from. So it's a lot more fun. You can get into it. You can joke around. They're also doing CFAX now. Doug Seacat has been in a few videos,
which is kind of awesome. It's stories from the man.
Right, so you're watching painting. You can sort of partake in the painting by making recommendations on color scheme and things like that. And then you're also playing like a fun round of trivia with the creator of all of the fluff of the entire universe that the game takes place in.
Yeah, so that's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Good stuff.
They, to get back to our point, they have introduced a new hashtag, which is P3 Painters. I believe it's plural. I've been using it plural.
Yeah.
Painters. Hashtag P3 Painters on Instagram. If you post your models, if you post your finished, completed models, and you use that hashtag, they've been putting them up in the episodes. So they sort of open each episode with a display of models. Unfortunately, we had 2 or 3 posts up on our Instagram, How to Roll Dice. If you haven't followed, go and check it out.
Good stuff.
A lot of it's not ours. I don't want to take credit for that.
No,
we take a lot of pictures of models at local gaming stores, at conventions, and I always try to, capture that in the description of the posts.
I usually put all my personal painted models on my own Twitter.
Right, I do the same mostly because they're not very good. So I've been including that hashtag, trying to get some of our stuff up onto the sort of the Let's Paints episodes on Thursdays.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then last piece of news before we let you guys go, Weekly Rumble is coming back.
I'm excited.
It's going to be good stuff. That's been away for quite a while, I believe.
It's been at least a month or two.
Yeah, so they're bringing that back starting in March. And I don't know if it's going to rotate through games or if it's going to focus on their newer game. One of the things that I personally didn't like that much is when Monster Apocalypse sort of resurfaced, all of a sudden all of the Weekly Rumbles transitioned over to that.
Well, before that, it actually all transitioned over to
Company of Iron.
Extreme Colossal Wrestling.
Oh, Extreme Colossal Wrestling. I missed that entire window because I was into the Company of Iron segment that they were doing, and then when they hopped out of that, I just lost interest in it.
Yeah.
And I get, obviously,
I liked Company of Iron, but I'd like to see, like, every week a different game.
Yeah, well, that's what I would, if they could just rotate games like that. Obviously, it's not going to draw as much attention to their new, their new sale items.
Right.
But I guess you have to balance, sales between community support or, keeping people happy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'd be nice. So we're happy to see it come back.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Well, this has been Tabletop Tuesday. We're glad you guys could check us out. Again, I'm Josh.
Bryant.
This is How to Roll Dice. And if you can, we'd love to see you on Thursday for our Themeless Thursday, where we'll be discussing probably... Themelessness, yeah. It's just going to be vacant nonsense for about half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We're probably going to pepper in some Dominion, Scythe, a couple other games we've picked up recently or have gotten back into, Rising Sun.
We're going to go over cons that we've been to, cons that we're going to.
Oh, that's right, yeah. We have some con discussions to have. Some good, some bad. Mostly good.
Mostly good.
Little bad. If you've ever tried to book a hotel room at Gen Con,
you'll understand.
Yeah, you might want to check it out. You'll get to vent a little bit. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again soon.
All right, guys. Peace.